Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So we always remember our teachers when we start any endeavor. And today we're continuing on with Hari Bhakti Vilas. We're in the 11th Vilas, I think, 11th Vilas. And so after describing the daily duties of a Vaishnava up to a certain extent, now there was a summary. At the end of the last session, we were talking about a summary of the worship that we do for the Lord in the morning. And we got to the point of summarizing the morning worship that we do for the Lord, or the morning activities that a Vaishnava does. And now we're going to talk about the afternoon, or the noon, and the evening duties. These are summaries, because we've already gone over these things in some detail. So let's have a look at the text here. Where we left off was in the 11th Vilas, text 25 to 31. So previously we talked about the morning duties, and now we're talking about saying next the process for worship at noon is being described. So noon meaning the middle of the day. Like that. Actually, we shouldn't think of noon as being exactly 12 o'clock, but we should think of noon as halfway between the sunrise and the sunset. So that will depend upon the latitude, of course, of the place where the devotee or the Vaishnava is living, and also the time of year. Okay, so one should meditate on Krishna as he sits on a lotus throne in a very relaxed manner. I'm sure that means that Krishna is sitting on the throne in a relaxed manner, and not that we are in a relaxed manner thinking of him. So we should meditate seriously on Krishna sitting on a lotus throne, and he's in a very relaxed manner. The throne is placed in the shade of a desire tree. So a desire tree is called a kalpa vriksha or kalpaka vriksha, tree which grants wishes or grants desires. That is situated on the beautiful riverbank. Obviously, this is when we think of Krishna, we're thinking of Krishna meditating on Krishna in Vrindavan. So the riverbank refers to the river Yamuna, which flows through Vrindavan, and situated by lakes filled with lotuses and water lilies. So apparently, we should meditate that there are also, apart from the river Yamuna, there's also lakes, some beautiful lakes with lotuses and water lilies. This riverbank is situated at the foot of a golden mountain. That's interesting. So I'm not sure why we're meditating on the golden mountain here. Perhaps someone is thinking about Govardhan, which is the favorite mountain of Lord Krishna, and considering it to be equal in status to Mount Sumeru or Mount Meru. Mount Meru or Mount Sumeru is the universal mountain in the Puranic cosmology, which is a golden mountain. So it's the golden mountain spoken of in the Puranas. So anyway, it says here, this riverbank is situated at the foot of the golden mountain that is decorated with various minerals.
So I'm just now thinking about the turtle shape of the Navadvip. There is explanation that this terrain is also steepy, like this is hilly area going from Ganga to the top of Navadvip.
Right. So Navadvip is the abode of Sri Chaitanya, and so the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya, and as the name mentions, it is 9 islands. Nava means 9, and Dvipa means islands. So 9 islands means that the river goes in many directions around the different parcels of land, which are different islands. So, as you say, it's described to be like the back of a tortoise or the back of a turtle. If you look at the back of the shell of a turtle, it seems to be made up of different squares, and there are some different sections on the back of a turtle. So just like that, in the same way, is the analogy to Navadvip. So all of the another thing we can think about is we can think about Jagannath Puri. In Puri, Puri is considered to be like a conch shell. So if we look at a map of Puri, it resembles a conch, resembles a conch shell in shape. So there are many holy places, and in order to meditate on the holy Dham, on the holy places, the scripture gives us some analogies, gives us some comparisons between these holy places, or the shape of these holy places, and other auspicious items. In here, we're talking about a golden mountain, as you said, a tortoise or a turtle. The Lord Himself took the form of a great turtle called Kurma. So whenever we think of a golden mountain, when we think of a mountain, sometimes we also think of that turtle, because when Kurma Avatar appeared, it was the devatas and the asuras, the demigods and the demons. They took the mountain Meru, which was the universal mountain, and they placed it on the back of this tortoise incarnation or turtle incarnation of Lord Vishnu. And apparently Kurmavatar had this desire to have his back rubbed. He had some itch in his back or something. And so the idea was to scratch the back of the divine turtle or tortoise to make him feel better. This was a type of devotional service. And at the same time, the turtle is swimming in an ocean, and that ocean was made of milk. So the churning effect, which was brought about by the mountain was like a stick for churning. If you go to Vrindavan, you see they have these butter churns, which is a wooden stick, and the bottom part of the stick has got some blades on it, made of wood, and you turn it back and forth with your hand or with a rope to make it go round and round, and this churns the cream and turns the butter and cream into the milk and cream into butter, from which you can then make, or yogurt, let's say, or butter, and then you can make ghee from that, from either the yogurt or from the butter. There's different ways of making ghee. So what happened with this ocean of milk is that they churned it, and not only was it devotional service to Kurma to itch his back, the tortoise form of the Lord, but it also churned the ocean of milk, and so many wonderful things came out of the ocean of milk. Goddess Lakshmi came out, and Indra's white elephant, and a white horse, and Lord Dhanvantari, another incarnation of the Lord Dhanvantari, came out with a pot of nectar, a pot of the nectar of immortality, which was the main thing that the demons and demigods wanted, was the nectar of immortality. They also got some intense poison came out as well. So whenever we do this, we make something and extract the essence from something. Sometimes something bad is left when we extract the essence, the good essence. So some bad thing may be left over, right? Or there may be some leftovers when we make ghee. There's some leftovers, like that. So but in this case, it was a hala poison. It was a type of poison. So even that had a use. Even the creation of that was useful. The poison was so strong that it was about to kill everyone in the universe. And then Lord Shiva came and said, "I will protect the universe by drinking this poison, and I'll keep the poison within my throat." And his throat turned blue from drinking the poison. So he is given the name Nilakanta, or having a blue throat, because of drinking that poison. While he was drinking that poison to save all the living beings in the universe, a few drops fell down, and those drops were absorbed by snakes and spiders and scorpions, these creatures that we have that have poison in them. So there are some creatures in this world that are protect themselves by having venomous poison, like snakes. So they were given this poison to protect themselves. So these are all useful things. Even poison can be used. Sometimes even poison can be used as a medicine. But in any case, this is all coming about by the churning of the Golden Mountain, and the rope that was used was a big snake called Vasuki, and that snake was a fire-breathing dragon, actually. And so one end was held by the Asuras, and one end was held by the Devatas, by the gods, and one by the demons. The demons got the wrong end, though. They got the end that was breathing fire, so they had a very hard time. And they were pulling back and forth. You can see this motif. Sometimes you see a diorama like this. One time I saw in Bangkok International Airport in Thailand, they had a big motif of this. They had a big diorama of this scene of the churning of the ocean of milk. But if you want to see more of the churning of the ocean of milk in statue form, in physical form, you can go to a place called Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and it's very, very common motif there, very, very common depiction. This story is known all over Asia, so it's in the wider, Hindu empire when Hinduism was spread over the whole of Asia, and so you can see that even today. Okay, so getting back to this. To our point here, it's interesting because here, this analogy or this comparison of a golden mountain, this idea of a golden mountain, is being brought into this meditation of Krishna in Vrindavan. So this is the meditation. So we had previously, when we were talking in the morning, there was a certain meditation, and then now at noon there's a different type of meditation. So sometimes it's like that, especially with the Sandhya Vandana prayers are also like a paradigm for this. When we do Sandhya Vandana, we meditate upon, a Gayatri takes different forms or may take different forms, or there are different forms that we meditate upon of the Lord also in the morning, in the noon, and in the evening. So this is very common. It's very common that at different times of the day, even Raganuga Bhaktas in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, right, they will follow certain things like Krishnadas Kaviraj has written another book called Krishna's, which is about Krishna's Astakaliya Leela, his eightfold daily pastimes. So every different time of the day, all these different 8 times of the day, there's a different meditation about what is happening in Krishna's pastimes. So Krishna's pastimes, of course, his leelas are unlimited, so we can meditate constantly. But there are guidelines which are given by the acharyas or by the scriptures for us to meditate on those pastimes in certain ways in the morning, in certain ways at noon, in certain ways in the evening, or certain ways at these different 8 times of the day. So these are just guidelines, and within those guidelines, there'll be so much variety in our meditation when we meditate upon the Lord. So here, it's very interesting. This golden mountain is coming in here. So once again, by the river Yamuna bank, we should meditate that Yamuna is situated at the foot of a golden mountain. Actually, if you go to Vrindavan, the Yamuna is not anywhere really near a mountain. But still, if in meditation, we can think like that there's a golden mountain near the bank of the river. And there's also all of these wonderful lakes filled with lotuses, as well as the river. Okay, so this riverbank is situated at the foot of a golden mountain that is decorated with various minerals, chirping birds, and wish-fulfilling trees, right, which we already mentioned. Lord Krishna is decorated with a pearl necklace. A pearl necklace. Now, also, in our meditation, we can think of all of these things have meanings too. They all have esoteric meanings and deeper meanings too. Krishna talks about a necklace of pearls. He talks about that in the Bhagavad Gita, Sutre Manigana Iva. The Sanskrit is sutre, on the thread, money, meaning that money Manigana Iva, like pearls strung on a thread. is an analogy that Krishna uses in Bhagavad Gita. So we can think of pearls. We can think of pearls as different things. Pearls can be different items of knowledge. Pearls can be different leelas. Each pearl can represent something very precious, right? But it's not necessarily. Of course, we can meditate upon Krishna wearing a garland of pearls, a string of pearls, and pearl necklace. But each one of those pearls can have some meaning. Another example of this would be like in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Guru Parampara. Usually, Guru Parampara can be seen like a tree. Sometimes it can be seen as a tree coming from Lord Krishna is the root of the tree, and all of the acharyas are the different trunk and branches of the tree. Yeah. So this is very common that we look at the Guru Parampara like a tree. But some paramparas, they look at it, they give the example of a necklace. In Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, there's a type of parampara which is called Oramvari parampara, where the different pearls or the different jewels on the necklace are each different acharyas. And the main acharya is there in the middle of the necklace, but in the beginning of the necklace is, of course, is the Supreme Person, or Vishnu, right? And then at the bottom of the necklace, they have the crest jewel, right, which is Ramanuja. And then again, Lord Ranganatha or Vishnu is in the top of the necklace like this. This comes about because the Lord himself might act as a disciple of one of the acharyas. So the Guru Parampara goes down and then back up again. It's like a necklace. So it's very, very interesting if anybody wants to see a picture like that. Or a picture of a Puri like a conch, or a Jagannath Puri like a conch, or a picture of Navadvip like a turtle, like that. We can look for these pictures because artists have also drawn these pictures like this to help us, to aid us in our meditation. So not only do we have slokas to chant, we have verses in Sanskrit to chant to aid our meditation, but we can also have physical depictions in pictures to help us in our meditation. Right. So Lord Krishna is decorated with a pearl necklace and a flower garland. Right. And of course, his flower garland has got many colors. It's a Vaijayanti Mala. Right. All these different colored forest flowers. The throne is covered with gold. Right. So this lotus throne that Krishna is sitting on, and bedecked with jewels, and covered with a colorful canopy. Right, so there should be some shade cloth or some canopy over the top of Krishna. After fixing one's mind on the Lord in this manner, a devotee should worship him with offerings of jati flowers. I believe jati is jasmine. But anyway, we spoke previously in another Vilasa. There was an explanation of all the different types of flowers. Jati flowers were highly praised in that portion of Hari Bhakti Vilas, but there are also, of course, other flowers which are more praiseworthy, like even Tulsi was praised much more than any other flower or leaf. And of course, there are many different types of flowers that we can offer to the Lord. The flowers themselves, there are some Sanskrit verses that you could talk about Pushpanjali. Pushpanjali means offering handfuls of flowers to the Lord. The flowers themselves sometimes are spoken of as being different emotions of the devotee. So of course, it's nice to think of offering actual flowers to the Lord, but those flowers can represent certain good qualities of the devotee also. There are some verses like that. We don't have time to go into it or to find those verses right now, but if anybody's interested, we can also find the esoteric meaning, the inner meanings of all these meditations. So then one should offer food to the Lord, right? So this is in our meditation. I'm not sure whether it's externally or internally here. Seems like this is a meditation. And then now, after fixing one's mind on the Lord in this manner, a devotee should worship him by offering jati flowers. Okay, so I'm not sure here whether he's offering them jati flowers in his mind, or he's meditating like this, and then the deity that he has in his house or in the temple, the devotee should then offer jati flowers to him. It may be done externally or internally. In fact, it's basically the same. The internal worship, the manasika aradhana, the manasika puja, of course, is more important because it's more important to fix our mind. If we do external worship, but our mind wanders to some other, some other thing, not on the Lord, then that's not good. But when we do mental worship, we have to think of the Lord. So that's why mental worship is stressed. And so it can be done mentally, or it seems it's not stated whether it's done mentally or externally. But it can be done. Both can be done. So, and then one should offer food to the Lord, or a bhoga offering. This bhoga offering, which is offered in the noon in the temple, is usually called the Raja bhoga. Raja means, of course, king. So Maharaja means a great king, or Raja. So this Raja bhoga is the biggest offering of food in the temple or in the house in the day. So it's usually very, very extensive offering with many, many items which are offered. So that's because normally people eat their main meal in the middle of the day. So that the Vedic idea, according to Ayurveda, is that we should eat when the power of digestion is the greatest. And the power of we should eat more, let's say. If we're going to eat more or bigger meal, then we have to eat it when the power of digestion is better. And the power of digestion is considered to be better, according to Ayurveda, when the sun is high, when the sun is right overhead, when it's warmest. Okay. So we can also note that, when the body's very cold, it's very difficult or even sometimes when food is cold, it's difficult to digest. So heat helps to digest, because digestion is compared to a fire. When we do the Brahmana Bhojanam, we are taking the first 5 morsels of food that we throw into the mouth, the rice with the ghee on them. We don't crush them with our teeth, but we throw them in the back of our throat. And we offer them into the fire of digestion in the same way that we offer a fire sacrifice externally, with the meditation that Krishna is the fire of digestion, called the Vaishvanara. Vaishvanara is the name of the fire of digestion. And we offer it into Krishna as the fire of digestion, and to the 5 life airs: Pranaya Swaha, Mapanaya Swaha, Dhyanaya Swaha, Uddanaya Swaha, Samanaya Swaha. Okay. So in the same way, we offer the food to the Lord also in the same way. We saw that already in the section on worship between the 5th and the 8th chapters of Vilasa. So now we know how to offer the food. So we're going to offer the food again to Lord Krishna. Or of course, it may be less ritualistic if a person is a Raghunaga Bhakta and he's just simply offering Krishna. He's thinking that I am a servant of Krishna, like a gopi or a cowherd boy, and I'm just offering to my friend some food, then there's no formality involved. But in the temple, where we're performing Vaidhi Bhakti, then because the Lord is considered like a king in the temple palace, so a temple is like a palace, so this Raja Bhoga is offered, the kingly food or the kingly meal, right? And so it should be offered in a very ritualistic way, in a very proper way, with all the niceties of etiquette, kingly etiquette, which is called Raja Upachar, kingly service. Okay, so in this way, so one should offer the food to the Lord and his cowherd boy friends with silver plates. Okay, so this is interesting. So because they've mentioned here the cowherd boy friends, it sounds like this is all going on in the mind that is being meditated upon. Because obviously in the temple, do we actually have deities of the different cowherd boys surrounding Krishna? No, I don't think so. So this seems to be all to be done as a meditation at noon. Yeah? And we're offering on silver plates. Even though they're cowherd boys, they could eat off. Normally in Vrindavan, in the villages, people eat off these leaf plates. They eat either a banana leaf or they take leaves and they sew them together with sticks like that, and they eat off these leaf plates. And then they can be disposed of, the leaf plates like that. But here, they're showing even the Rajaboga, the kingly opulence. We're already talking about jeweled canopies and gold and golden mountains. And so here offering the food is offered on silver plates in the mind. So in this way, self-controlled devotees should meditate on Lord Krishna as he is comfortably seated along with his friends. Nice. So this is what Krishna would do. Krishna was a cowherd. That was his job in Vrindavan growing up. He belonged to the community of cowherds. And so they looked after the cows. They grew grains. It's very important to have cows so that you can plow the fields. The bulls can plow the fields so you can grow the grains, and the cows can provide milk. And from the milk you can make you can make ghee and so many milk products. And from ghee and grains and sugar cane that you can grow, you can make so many different preparations. So this is the basis of the wealth of the cowherd community. And so it was important for the young cows or even the older cows to be tended by the cowherd boys. So the boys and the girls, the girls would do their job too. The girls could milk the cows, the boys could milk the cows. Everybody took their turn. And Lord Krishna, being a cowherd boy, he would go with his friends who were also the sons of cowherds, and they would all go and they would take the cows out in the morning to the pasture grounds, and the cows could then eat in peace, very peacefully. They could eat the grass, the wonderful grasses in the pastures, and they would eat to their heart's content, eat to their full satisfaction. But also the cowherd boys, when they went out, they would have to take some lunch with them, and they would sit at a certain point and they would take lunch. So this is what we should be meditating upon before taking our lunch. We should think about Krishna taking his lunch, right? So that's at the noon time. Before we take our lunch, we should be thinking about Krishna taking his lunch. Nice. And in fact, there's a very beautiful song, a bhajan by Bhakti Thakur, which is about the Rajboga Arti. And it talks about all the different types of foods which are offered to Krishna at this time. Luchi chini sar puri, ladu rasabali. So luchi chini, it's a type of puri with sugar on it. Luchi chini means sugar. Luchi chini sar puri. Sar puri is a puri that has some cream on it, like that. So all sorts of different types. If you go to Puri, in fact, Jagannath Puri, they're very fond of this luchi chini. And they have other things, of course. They have a thing called chenna, which is a type of milk curd made into like a cheesecake. Nice. So there's so many different types of prasadams that can be offered to the Lord, right? And I think we've talked about this before. Also very sattvic foods. Okay, so now that is the description of what we have to meditate upon before we take lunch. We have to meditate upon Krishna taking his lunch. Now, let's see what happens in the evening. And the division of the day here into morning duties, afternoon duties, and evening duties also follows this example, this prototype or paradigm that we have of Sandhya Vandanam. Because in Sandhya Vandanam, we pray 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening. So similarly, we should also be meditating on Krishna morning, noon, and evening. Nice. And this happens actually after our Vedic Sandhya Vandana. The next thing that we do in the morning, noon, and evening is we do after the Vedic Sandhya Vandana, we do Tantric Sandhya Vandana, or what's called Agamic Sandhya Vandana, where we think about Vedic Sandhya Vandana is got to do with the Savitri Gayatri, a Vedic verse about Surya Narayana in the sun. And there are other meanings to it also. We can meditate upon Krishna at that time too. But specifically for those persons who don't chant the Vedic Gayatri mantra, there are, and for all others too who are Vaishnavas, they should perform the Agamic Sandhya Vandana, where they chant the other spiritual mantras which are given at the time of initiation. And each mantra, of course, there's a meditation, what we should be thinking about while we're chanting the mantra. And of course, we should approach learned authorities, and we should read in the Shastras the inner meanings of all the words and even the syllables of all these mantras. so that we know very deeply the meaning that we can contemplate. Because chanting a mantra is not just like a parrot, like repetition. There, of course, chanting a mantra has power. Just if you chant it, it has some power. But if you want to fully get the siddhi or the perfection of the mantra, you have to also not only chant it correctly, it has to not only be pronounced correctly and often, but you have to also meditate upon the meaning at the same time when you're chanting it, like that. Manaha trayate iti mantraha. So manaha means the mind, and trayate means to deliver. So mantra means to deliver the mind. It's a thing which delivers the mind. So we definitely cannot, if you're just chanting and you're not thinking of something, then how is the mantra delivering your mind? It's not a real mantra. It may be a saying, it might be a slogan. But if you don't think about it, if you don't think of the meaning, then how is it a mantra? How does it control your mind? It doesn't. So therefore, to make it a real mantra, we have to get the perfection of the mantra. We have to know also out of the two things, simply chanting and understanding the meaning. Understanding the meaning is actually more important than chanting. If we understand the meaning and we meditate deeply on the meaning 24 hours a day, whether we're chanting externally or internally or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The meaning is important. The consciousness is important. But in order to get that consciousness, we should chant. We should chant. But when we chant and repeat, the idea is by repeating, we remember. Just like anything, if we want to remember a story or Krishna's leelas, we read them again from the scriptures. We all know the leelas of Krishna. We all know about Krishna's birth and his activities and things. But we can conjure them up in our mind. But if we read the scriptures, we read the detailed explanations, that becomes much, much better for us. We are able to recollect more, because our memories are not perfect, of course, and we can recollect more, and we can understand in a better way and have a deeper appreciation. So text 32 to 37, I think we're going to hear now about what to do in the evening. We heard about the morning, we heard about noon, now we're hearing about the evening. So next is the process for worshiping Krishna in the evening. It's being described. Lord Hari should be meditated upon. So this is in the evening. So evening means after we perform the Vedic Sandhya Vandana, we'll sit down and this is the meditation that we'll do. So this will be at the time of dusk. Yeah, it may vary a little bit according to the day or according to the season. Lord Hari should be meditated upon as seated on a raised altar that is decorated with jewels and is in the shade of desire trees that are filled with fruits and flowers. Nice. The Lord is dressed in yellow garments and decorated with fragrant sandalwood pulp and divine ornaments. The lotus-eyed Lord is adorned with many flower garlands. By his enchanting beauty and sweet smile, he embraces the beauty of everyone else. He enhances the beauty of everyone else. This is an interesting point here. Krishna's beauty and his smile, his wonderful smile, makes everybody else also. It's infectious, in other words. Krishna's beauty and Krishna is all attractive. The word Krishna itself comes from the verb in Sanskrit, karshati, to attract. It means to draw or attract. It means to plow also, to draw or attract. So Krishna, the word Krishna, therefore, as a noun, means all attractive. All attractive. So Krishna is all attractive. He's the most beautiful. He's the most attractive. So Krishna is so attractive, right? Then everybody else becomes attractive also just by being around him. Because his attractive nature is infectious like this. So somehow or other, people's own beauty becomes enhanced by being around Krishna. So his enchanting beauty and sweet smile, he enhances the beauty of everyone else. If you read in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Guru Goswami will read also about different types of smiling. There's also different types of smiling that the Lord exhibits. So we should read all these things, and we should know when if somebody says, "Oh, Krishna's smiling," yeah, how is he smiling? What kind of smile does Krishna have? How is it different? There's the type of smiling where somebody smiles in general. There's another type of smile where the teeth are showing. There are different types of smiles, right? Different types of expressions on the body. And these are all codified mainly by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Ujjwala Nilaman. So very, very nice. Okay, so we need to go into the details of these things to enhance our meditation, right? The more you can enhance your meditation, the more fixed your meditation will be. The less possibility there'll be of being distracted, right? When I start to tell you the leelas of the Lord and I tell you all the details, it becomes real. It becomes present in our mind when we hear all the details. If I just say to you, "Oh, Krishna was a cowherd. He went with the cows out in the forest." That's it. That's the story of Krishna. No, I want to hear the details. Tell me all the details, all the wonderful details. Tell me about the cowherd boys. Tell me about all of them, their personalities, what they did, their activities, how they interacted with Krishna, what were their bodily features like, how they were enhanced, their beauty was enhanced by Krishna, what activities did they all get up to, what they ate for lunch, what they did at a certain time of the day, how they interacted with the cows, how they were seen off by the community, how the mothers and fathers, Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda and all their friends, how they would see them off in the morning to go off on their duties, and how they would greet them in the evening at Goduli Muhurta when the cows are coming back and the dust is coming up from the hooves of the cows, and it's seen, it's sparkling. The dust of Vrindavan is sparkling like diamonds when the sun is coming down. The sun is just low on the horizon and it's coming down, and the dust of the hooves of the cows is up there in the light of the sun. All of these things we have to go into much more detail like that, and that enhances our meditation. It helps us to fix our meditation and make our meditation firm, and so that we won't be distracted. So the lotus-eyed, his beauty and his sweet smile were enhancing the beauty of everyone else. He is the Lord of the gopis, right? And hero of everybody. So now we're talking about the evening, right? So in the noon, we were talking about Krishna with the cowherd voice. So now in the evening, we're talking about Krishna, and we're thinking about Krishna with the gopis, because especially Krishna used to go out in the evening and meet with the gopis, or even at night, even late in the night. So he is the Lord of the gopis and the hero of everybody. After meditating on Krishna in this way, one should worship him with fragrant flowers and offer him warm milk in a silver cup. Okay, so this is a very simple thing that we do in the evening when we're about to take a rest or something like that. Many people, they take this hot milk or warm milk, and we sip that before we take rest. So before we have our milk and take rest, we want Krishna to relax with the gopis, and he has this hot milk, and he can relax also in the evening like this after a long day of hard work with the cows out in the forest, and he comes back and he is enjoying in this way. These are his activities. So one should worship the Lord with undivided attention and chant the appropriate mantras. Okay, so this is all going on in our meditation. So whether we chant the mantras out loud or in our minds, that's just a detail. But in any case, this is how we should be thinking. Again, it's a sort of a formal worship meditation, a formal guided meditation here. Because if we're thinking of worshiping Krishna as a gopi or as a cowherd boy, then they wouldn't bother with all these mantras and things like that. But here, it's pretty obvious that this is a guided meditation for a Vaidhi Bhakti sadhana. Vaidhi Bhakti sadhana, where the person is actually thinking of offering this worship to Krishna. He's envisaging Krishna in Vrindavan in that pastoral setting, but he's doing it. He's still worshiping him with awe and reverence and all of the different mantras and appropriate mantras. So it is recommended that one should chant his mantra. Now, what does that mean, his mantra? It means the main mantra which is given by the Guru at the time of initiation. We saw in the second Vilas, the Hari Bhakti Vilas, how the Gopal mantra was the main. Even from the first Vilas, there was a discussion of which mantras are given in initiation. So of course, Hari Bhakti Vilas may be read by all sorts of Vaishnavas. So there may be some Vaishnavas who have different mantras. But here, we're mostly talking about the 18-syllable Gopal mantra as the main mantra for the worship of Krishna in Hari Bhakti Vilas. And so therefore, it says here, he should chant his mantra. But we can say it means his mantra or his mantras. Whatever mantras are given that the Guru has given us in order to enhance our meditation or to enhance to meditate upon, right? And the meaning as well, right? We should therefore, at the end of his worship, we should therefore chant them. And here it says 1,008 times. 1,008 times. Let me see if that's actually there. Yeah, so Sahasram, the word Sahasram is used. Sahasram Japet. Yeah, so Hari Bhakti Vilasa is recommending that we chant 1,000 times. 1,008. 1,008 times. Does it say 1,008? Sa Astakam. Yeah, Sa Astakam means 8. So Sa means with. So 1,000 with 8. Yes, so it says 1,008. So it's recommending here that we chant in the evening, we chant 1,008 times the Gopal mantra. And maybe some other mantras or maybe whatever other mantras like that. So in the process of japa, I think it's mentioned that there are different levels, right? So just like we discussed before that there are different types of devotees. There's the Kanistadikari, the beginner, and then there's the Madhyamadikari, who's in the middle of his spiritual level, and then the Uttamadikari, who's the topmost advanced Vaishnava. And so similarly with japa, there's a Kanista, there's Madhyama, there's Uttama. Okay, so like Kanista is 10 and chanting 10 times, and Madhya, it's like the absolute bare minimum, yeah. And then the Madhyama is 108, and then 1,008 is the Uttama, is the Uttama level or the Uttama number, the number that's the topmost number which is used normally with japa. And of course, we're going to come across this again. This is going to come again in the 17th Vilas. We're going to talk about Puruscharana or Puruscharya. It's called Puruscharana or Puruscharya, means the same thing. It is the process of perfecting the mantra. So there are different things. There's a Tarpana and Brahma Bhojana and Homa and Japa, and there are these different methods that we use with the mantra that's given by the Guru to perfect to have a perfect the first number 10, 108, 1,008, right, is usually the way it's described. I think we can find Hari Bhakti Vilas mentions about the different numbers of japa. I think it mentions it. It may mention it. It may not be. Maybe we haven't done it yet. I'm not sure exactly in what place it mentions about it. But there's it also mentions about different types of japa, external japa, where we chant out loud. There's also, that is called, we could call it kirtana, or we could call it some kirtana. We could call it vachika is what it's usually called. Vachika means when I chant a mantra and other people can hear the mantra, that is called vachika. Then the next level is called upamamsu. Upamamsu means is actually, japa is usually upamamsu. Japa itself, the word japa, Janmanishad papanashana iti japaha. So in Sanskrit, the word japa means no more janma and no more sin. So ja stands for janma and pa stands for papa, sin. So japa is the process by which we get rid of rebirth and we get rid of sin. So japa. But actually the word, the verb in Sanskrit, japa, japati or japet, right? Japet means he should chant, or he should chant, right? Or he chants. Japet means simply to chant, to repeat the thing. It doesn't say exactly. If I just say japet, it doesn't say whether it should be out loud or in the mind or softly. So, but in another place, it describes here about the different types of japa. So there's a vachika. Vachika means out loud, so other people can hear. Upamamsu is usually, when we chant japa, it's supposed to be upamamsu. Upamamsu means the lips move and the tongue moves. But only I can hear the mantra, and the person sitting next to me cannot hear. So it's that soft. That is called upamamsu. Upa means a little. Upamamsu. And then the third part is completely in the mind, without the movement of the lips or the tongue. That is called manasika. Manasika is said to be 1,000 times better than the soft one, the upamamsu. And this is also considered 1,000 times, I think, or maybe 100 times, whatever it is, better than the out loud. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that we should only chant within the mind, because that's considered to be the best. There's 2 points here. One is, as I said, when we meditate on something, our focus cannot go anywhere. Sometimes when we chant out loud, especially if it's a repetition mantra, if it's Vishnu Sahasranam, of course, all the different names come, and it's very difficult to fall asleep. But if you have a mantra like Om or Hare Krishna Maha Mantra or something like that, and you just keep saying it over and over again like that, sometimes people find that they lose focus. They may fall asleep or lose focus or whatever it is. The attention wanders if you're just saying it out loud and not thinking about it. Okay, so when you're thinking, if you're doing manasika japa, then you can't lose focus. Okay, upamamsu, maybe it's easier to be focused. When you're chanting out loud, it's easy to lose focus. It's easier to lose focus. So that's the reason why they said, that's the first reason. The second reason, which I thought I had 2 reasons here, but I'm not thinking about it. Okay, so so a mantra doing japa. Oh, I was going to say Haridas Thakur was the namacharya, right? So he is the example to follow in how we should chant japa. So he actually chanted 100,000 or 1 lakh. In Sanskrit, it's called a lakh or laksha. In Hindi, lakh. In India, if you say a lakh, it means 100,000. So he would chant every day. He would chant 100,000 Hare Krishna Maha Mantras, or 100,000 names. Right, the Hare Krishna mantra is made up of several names. So he would chant 100,000 out loud, vachika. 100,000 he would chant upamamsu, and he would chant 1,000 manasika. This is described in a book by Bhakti Thakur called Harinam Chintamani. So you can read that, and that explains about that. And this is normally the standard. This is normally the standard for Babajis, or a standard for those retired renunciates, people who are renunciates and they have no other duties during the day. They don't cook, or they don't perform yajna or homa or anything like that. They're just totally dedicated at the end of their lives to spiritual matters like that. Then they have time. They can do this. They can do 300,000 names of God a day like that. Otherwise, the regular person, the regular Vaishnavas like that, the recommended, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended 100,000 names of God. And of course, there may be reasons why other acharyas have given less. Srila Prabhupada gave less, about a quarter of that to his disciples. And it varies. It varies amongst the different Gaudiya groups like that as to how much the gurus are insisting that their disciples should do. And of course, the disciples should be doing some other devotional service as well, not just chanting. But even while doing other devotional service, the Gaudiya acharyas are recommending that we also think about Harinam at the same time, but not to the point of distraction like that. So obviously, if you're driving a car, you shouldn't be distracted. You shouldn't try to do japa at the same time, because this is also an offense to the chanting. To be distracted while chanting is an offense, right? So there are these 10 offenses which everybody knows about chanting. So one of them is to be distracted. So we shouldn't also be distracted. So you see people sometimes in class, they're trying to chant japa in class. Are they listening to the class, the Bhagavatam, the scripture being said? Are they listening to the pastime, or are they trying to listen to their japa? So this is the thing. This is why, again, I say that the Manasika Japa is the best, because the Manasika Japa, we have full focus on the holy name. We have full focus on the mantra. Whereas if we can sit and our lips are moving, our tongue is moving, but we're not hearing. We're trying to hear class, or we're trying to hear somebody else in the car speak to us, or we're trying to drive. We're trying to do something. We're distracted in some way, like that. Now, is distracted chanting better than no chanting? Yeah, why not? I would say distracted chanting is better than no chanting. But if you actually want to practice chanting to perfection, you should, if you want to get the perfection of chanting, you should probably practice it in a perfected way. Try to do it in a perfected way. If you can do it. There's also the statement in the Bhagavatam, Sankityam Parihasyam Va Stobam Helanameva Va Vaikuntanama Grahanam Ashesha Grahanam Vidu. Even if we chant, well, we're joking around, right? Sankityam Parihasyam. Parihasyam means while joking. Hasya means joking or smiling. So even while joking around, if one chants the holy name of the Lord, or just counting, if one's counting, Sankityam Parihasyam Va Stobam as a song, we're singing, just singing the holy name as a song, like just in a sing-song way, so it's always perfect, the holy name. So even Ajamil, he was calling out his son. This comes in the 6th canto in the story of Ajamil. Ajamil was he was a Brahmin, he was a Vaishnava, and he somehow or other in his life, he forgot his early training as a Vaishnava Brahmin, and he fell down from that and he forgot all about it. But he did name his son Narayana. So at the time of death, when he was on his deathbed, he remembered his son, and he wanted to call for his son to see him at the time of death. So he called out Narayana, Narayana, like this, for his son to come there. So that was enough. Even he wasn't calling for God to come and save him. He wasn't, but it was the name of God as well as the name of his son. So because of that, he was saved, and the Vishnu Dudus came and saved him. The emissaries, the messengers of Lord Vishnu came and saved him. So anyway, this is actually this sloka is considered to be the definition of what we call nama bhas. So there are different stages of chanting. There's a preliminary stage of chanting. So just as we had the Kanista and the Madhyama and the Uttama Adhikari, and the Kanista and the Madhyama and the Uttama number of rounds to chant, we also have the Kanista, the Madhyama personality. So let's say, what is it? What was I saying about chanting? About chanting. So okay. So Ajamil was chanting the name of his son, and anyway, there's different levels. There's different levels of chanting also. So okay, so there's all these different levels. All right. So anyway, we get the idea. But here it's recommended that one should chant his mantra 1,008 times at the end of worship. This is the process of chanting Krishna mantras as recommended by learned authorities. Nice. Okay, so we'll continue on. So text 38, it says more description of the worship at the 3 sanjas. So here it actually mentions Trikala puja. Trikala puja, 3 times worship. But it's understood that these are the sanjas. These are morning, noon, and evening. So at the end of the worship, that is performed 3 times every day. At the end of the worship, that's performed 3 times a day, every day, whether to a deity or simply within the mind, right? So here it's saying, you can worship the Lord even just within the mind. There's no need for an external deity. One can even just worship the Lord in the mind. One should chant with full concentration his mantra 1008 times. Or if he is unable to do so, then 108 times. Right? So here he's really emphasizing the numbers here. He's saying you should chant 1008 times, but if you really can't, if you're really unable to do that, chant 108 times. Right. So it doesn't, this seems to be coming straight from the Goswamis, and there's no, is it mentioned that this is a quote from anywhere? We had these 3 times of the day. If we go back and we have a look at the first one, what did these see Tri Kala Archana Vidhi Vishesha. It says here Sri Gautamiya Tantra. So we should look in the Gautamiya Tantra, because it seems like all of this is coming from the Gautamiya Tantra. And so the Gautamiya Tantra would be a very good text to look at. It'll give us more details. But it seems like this is exactly what is being prescribed in Gautamiya Tantra. And so therefore, this is not just the opinion of the Goswamis, which of course is great, but still it's being mentioned directly in the scriptures, Gautamiya Tantra. Nice. So we'll continue on. So that's interesting. So normally, as we always do in Hari Bhakti Vilasa, he outlines what we should do. He gives an idea of what somebody should do, and he gives all the details of that. And then he gives a little bit of a concession here. Gopalpada Goswami or Sanatana Goswami, they're giving a concession. If you're really unable to do, right? So what does it say up here in the Sanskrit? It says, Nityam asta satam tata. Nityam. Nityam means eternally. It means all, it's sort of like emphasizing always, right? So here it's saying, if you can, astatara sahasrakam. You should do 3 times a day. You should do 1008 times. But if you can't, you should do at least 108 times. Right. So it's a little bit unclear, but it seems like this should be done 3 times, like that. Somebody could say, oh, it's only meant to be done in the evening, or one time, 1008 or 108. But here it really is trying to emphasize that you should do 3 times a day. Now, this is a traditional thing. If you go, there's some gurukulas that people go to that boys go to in India, like that. Still, they'll insist that the boys, when they do Sandhya Vandanam, they do 1008 times Gayatri Japa, 3 times a day, every day, like that. They'll insist like that. So, of course, because it's Manasika Japa also, it won't take as long as if we chant out loud. But still, it takes some time. And so here he's saying 1008. He's recommending 1008, right? 3 times a day. And this is on top of, if you're a Brahmin, you're doing the Vedic Sandhya Vandana, but also this is on top. This is the Vaishnava Sandhya Vandana, the Agamic Sandhya Vandana, the Pancharatric Sandhya Vandana, which is, again, chanting that mantra. And if it's more than one mantra that you have to apply this number to all the mantras that you have to chant. So there's no distinction. Now, if we look in Mantra Shastra, this is interesting. So what he's really doing is he's recommending that all the mantras that you're going to meditate upon, you should meditate upon them 3 times a day, and you should chant 1008 times each, like that. That's what he's recommending. And if you can't do that, at least chant 108 times. So I know, for instance, there are Sri Vaishnava Brahmins. What they'll do is they'll chant 108 times Gayatri Mantra, and then 108 times Om Namo Narayana, Astakshara Mantra, like that. And they'll do it 3 times a day, like that. Very simple, like that. So at least they will chant the same number as they're chanting of the Vedic mantras as they do the Pancharatric mantras. They won't change the number, right? Of course, these Pancharatric mantras, the Vaishnavas consider them much greater and much more important than the Vedic mantras. So it may be that somebody wants to chant them more or put more emphasis on them and just minimize the Vedic Sandhya Vandana. So there are all these things that you can do if you don't have enough time. And here also it says, same thing. If you can't do 1008 3 times a day, you can do 108, like that, 108. All right. So now it seems like we have the next thing is duties at night. So we had morning, noon, and evening. So we had the 3 sandhyas. Now what about at night? Now actually, it's interesting. In Mantra Shastra, it does give, just to say some more about the numbers. In Mantra Shastra, sometimes a mantra will be given, and that mantra it'll say that you have to chant this mantra a certain number of times. For instance, with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, where does it come from? It's there in the Kalishanta and the Upanishad, and it mentions that you have to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 35 million times. And if you do that, it may take, depending on how many times you do it every day, it may take between 25 years to 100 years to do this, a full lifetime to do it, depending on how much you chant every day. So it does mention a number there in the Upanishad where it gives the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. On the other hand, in Mantra Shastra in general, it says different mantras will be given, and it will say you should chant this mantra this many times or that many times. We're going to come across this again when we get to the 17th Vilasa. The 17th chapter is going to tell us about how to get how many times we have to chant a mantra, and how many times we have to do homa with it, fire sacrifice, and how many times we have to do tarpana, offering libations of water with it, and then how to get the siddhi or the perfection of that mantra by doing that. So Mantra Shastra deals with that, and
Swami, by saying this, then it becomes clear why Chaitanya Dev recommended 64 rounds.
Yeah. I mean, it becomes pretty clear. It's not really. I mean, 100,000. I'm sorry, 1,008. 1,008 times. Let's see. Okay, so Hare Krishna mantra is 16 names, right? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Hare. Okay, so it's 16 names, right? 16 names. So if we have 1,008 times 16, we're getting about 16,128 names if we chant 1,008 times. If we multiply that by 3 times a day, right, then we get about 48,000. Okay, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is recommending 100,000. So what he's talking about here is he's talking about half of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is recommending. Yeah, if you do it 3 times a day. If you say that this is pertaining to the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but in fact, it seems like in Gautamiya Tantra, this is coming from Gautamiya Tantra, so we have to take things in context also. We can extrapolate, we can take these rules and we can apply them to other situations and other mantras. But we also should first of all understand it in context. So in the context of Gautamiya Tantra, it seems like the mantra that they're talking about here again is the Gopal mantra, right? And not the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So this is not, I'm talking about the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra because it's also a mantra. But here we're really talking about the Diksha mantras that are given. Anyway, whatever mantra it is, in Mantra Shastra, there's a general rule of thumb. The number of syllables in the mantra you should chant the number of syllables times 100,000. And so that's a general rule. That's not for every mantra, it's like that, but it's a general rule. So if you have an 8-syllable mantra, you chant it 800,000 times. Like that. It's not necessarily 800,000 times a day, just 800,000 times in order to get the siddhi or the perfection of the mantra, to get it chanting. Of course, it's also said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bahu Jamma Kariyari Shravana Kirtana Tabhutana Paya Krishna Pade Premadana. Okay, so there's also a statement in Chaitanya Charitamrita that says numbers are not going to just get you there. to the goal. The goal of the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra or the holy name or any of these sacred mantras like Gopal mantra is Krishna prema, is the love of Krishna. And you may not get, so what does it say? Tabhutana paya Krishna padi premadam. You may never, bahu jamma, kariyadi, shravana kirtana. You can do shravana kirtana as long as you like. You can hear and chant the holy name for many millions of births, bahu jamma, many births and deaths. Right? You can do that for many births and you still won't get the Krishna prema. And why is that? Because of those offenses that I was talking about. Because this prayer that this sloka of Ajamil, from the Ajamil story in the Bhagavatam, 6th canto, Saknityam Parihasyam Va, is considered the definition of Namabhas. Namabhas is that's what I was going to say before, which I lost track of. Namabhas is a type of chanting. So there's offensive chanting. There's a type of clearing chanting. There's a type of offenseless chanting, but not pure chanting. And then there's pure chanting with concentration on the meaning and on Krishna. So without offense. So there's pure chanting, right? So there's like Kanista, Madhyama, and Uttama chanting, right? So we call that middle type of chanting as Namabhas. It means mixed chanting. It means a shadow of chanting. It means not the real chanting, but a shadow of chanting. It's still, of course, even the offensive chanting has the effect, has a good effect, right? But it's better to chant without offense. So that is offenseless chanting. Namabhas is offenseless chanting. There is no offense, but it's not completely pure. It's not considered to be siddha or suddha, completely pure, shuddha. Yeah. So those are the three different types of chanting also like that. So Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us it's not just the numbers, but it's also you have to follow these rules and not do anything, these are all offenses and don't do these offenses. Once you get rid of the offenses, then you come to the step. It may be controversial if I say this, but once you're not making any offense, then you come to the Namabhas level. Okay, it seems to me, right? Then you have to work on it and go even further to the pure Sudanam level, like that. So it's a complicated. It's a complicated system. Even if we look at Mantra Shastra, it'll describe more about this. Maybe it'll tell us more in the 17th Vilasa about this system. But anyway, so that's the point here. Now we're going to go to duties at night. Now it's interesting that we talked about duties in the morning, duties at noon, and duties in the evening. Now we're going to talk about duties at night. So originally, the idea of sandhyas is the joining. Sandhyas is the place where conjunction. Sandhyas means conjunction. So the conjunction from night to day is dawn. The conjunction from forenoon to afternoon is noon. The conjunction from day to night is dusk, or is so sunrise and sunset. Sunrise, noon, and sunset. Those are three sandhyas, but there's actually a fourth sandhya in the middle of the night called Ardharatra, which means the middle of the night, right? Middle of the night means between dusk, between sunset and the next sunrise, the exact middle like that. So you can call it 12 midnight, but it's not really 12 midnight, just as noon is not really 12 noon. Okay, so it's in the middle of the night. So the middle of the night is also considered a sandhya, the pre-midnight and post-midnight hours, right? So there's a connection between the pre and the post-midnight. So here he's talking about duties at night. Exactly what time at night here he's not saying. But normally we have to get some sleep during the night. Just human beings and all living beings, they need some sleep. So there may be some days like Ekadasi or something where we stay up all night, or the appearance day of the Lord or whatever it is. There might be some reason to stay up at night. So there are some timings in the night which are considered to be sacred and one of them is this sandhya, which is the middle of the night. But normally it's only Shaivas and Shaktas and tantrics and things like that who will perform pujas or do japa in the midnight. Normally it's not considered to be a good time. The best time for the spiritual activities is early in the morning, just before dawn, the Brahma Muhurta. But there's this other times of days, they have different results from chanting at the different times of day. So chanting at different times of day also, we also feel it ourselves when we do japa. If we do japa early in the day, right? Just like if any day, right? Every single day. I'm not saying every day is like this, but is full of the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. There's a mixture of the modes, but generally the morning is considered the mode of goodness. The afternoon is like the mode of passion, or the day is the mode of passion. In the evening, we get the mode of ignorance coming in more. Right? This is the tendency in the day. In the day. Now, not all days are the same. We have to look in Jyotish Shastra, and we have to look at a science called Muhurta, which is one of the 6 branches of astrology, of Vedic astronomy and astrology. And we have to look and we have to see when the auspicious time, best auspicious time is, and the least auspicious time, and we have to take advantage of that. But this is getting all too complicated. But in general, the morning is considered more sattvic, and the evening is considered more tamasic, and the middle of the day is more rajasic. Okay, so now we're going to talk about duties at night. So text 39. Thereafter, according to the methods that have come down through disciplic succession, so it's very important. He keeps always saying this, that because he's writing for many, many different Vaishnavas who might be in different sects and different groups. So he says, okay, so according to your lineage and according to your tradition, your sampradaya, right? So in one sampradaya, there may be many lineages, many guru paramparas, many different groups, and they might have slightly different sadhanas, slightly different activities and doctrines coming down from their acharyas. So according to that, and then your forefathers, if your forefathers are Vaishnavas, they may be teaching you something as a child, right? You continue to do those things. So he's saying, this is called Shishtachara. Shishtachara. Achara means our activities or our behavior. So Shishtachara means the ancestral behavior. What came from our lineage behavior. Shishtachara. It's also considered to be a pramana, or a proof of doing something. So somebody say, well, why do you do that? Well, my father did it, his father did it, his father did it, like that. That's actually considered to be a legitimate proof that you should do it, right? So because somewhere in the past, all your great ancestors, they did it, so you should also do it like that. So he's saying here that thereafter, according to the methods which have come down in your disciplic succession, through disciplic succession in the sampradaya, right? So it says here, yata sampradayam, following the sampradaya, right? Following your tradition. Sampradaya means tradition, right? Vaishnavas should perform fire sacrifice, homam, right? Sing and dance before the deities, right? Gita, singing, nrityadi, right? So singing and dancing, but it just says nrityadi, etc., right? Beginning with singing and dancing, right? Or singing and dancing, etc., before the deities, and offering prayers in a prescribed manner. Pratayit, he should pray. Vidaya, in a prescribed manner. Now, what does it mean to offer prayers in a prescribed manner? So we understand what doing a homa is, doing a fire sacrifice. So we should do that, right? We also have to sing and dance. We have to sing and dance. So there are different methods of singing and dancing. There's different. If you go all over India, there's Harinam Sankirtanam, Sankirtanam or Kirtan or Bhajan or Dhoon, sometimes it's called in Hindi, right? The repetition of mantras and names of God, like that. It differs a little bit all over India. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they tend to have a certain type of kirtan using mridangam and kartals, and in other places in India, they use other instruments and they chant in different ways, and they have different bhajans. You have the Madhvas that have the Dasa Sahitya, they have the bhajans of Purandara Das and Kanaka Das and these people. And you have in Maharashtra, you have Tukaram and you have Janeshwar, you have all of these saints there who sing about Vittala in Pandharpura. These are all Vaishnavas. And then you have the Annamacharya in Telugu. He has his Telugu and Sanskrit Sankirtanas in Andhra Pradesh. You have the songs of the Alwars in Tamil Nadu, of the Nalaya Divya Prabandha. right? So these are all Vaishnavas, and they're all singing. They're all singing about God, but they're all singing according to their own tradition and their own sampradaya, their own, and sometimes in their own regional language. We have the Bengali bhajans, for instance, of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We have Sanskrit bhajans too. We have songs in Sanskrit about God, praising God. We have songs in vernacular languages like Hindi and Bengali and Tamil and Telugu and Kannada and Marathi, etc. All these different things. We may even have, and even now that Vaishnavism is spread all over the world, we have Vaishnava songs in English and other languages. Right. So the singing and dancing, and even dancing may be a little bit different. We have different dancing traditions in India. We have the pan-India dancing tradition is called Bharatanatyam, right? So we have the Bharatanatyam, and all the dances the dances can be performed before the deity, or we can just dance ourselves before the deity, or there are people who actually learn in the scriptures. There's the Natya Shastra, right? Bharat's Natya Shastra, where he teaches Bharatanatyam, teaches people how to perform the dances which show us the leelas of the Lord, like that. So we have Bharatanatyam, that's all over India. We have the Kuchipudi in Andhra Pradesh. We have the Kathakali in Kerala. We have the Krishnanatham in Kerala. Kathakali is more in southern Karnataka and Kerala, but also then the Kathakali in Kerala. We have Kuchipudi, Odissi. We have the Odissi in Orissa, right? So these are all different forms of classical dance in India. So there's classical, and we have the classical music. The classical music, Hindustan, is basically two types of classical music in India. There's the Hindustani and the Carnatic. And the same bhajan sometimes is sung in both styles in different parts of India. So very, very interesting. It's an ocean of information that you can get into if you're interested. If you play an instrument, for instance, the violin is a Western instrument. The harmonium is a Western instrument. These instruments have been co-opted into Vaishnavism, into Hindu classical music, like that. Of course, you don't see. The thing is, in Tamil Nadu, they play a violin, but they hold it with their feet. Sometimes they sit cross-legged and they put it on their chest like that, and they hold it on their knee. So it's maybe a completely different. I don't know that much about playing these instruments, but they play them differently than they're played in the West, let's say. But they've adopted all these things. So these, of course, here, if we're reading from Gautamiya Tantra, I doubt whether Gautamiya Tantra is thinking about musical instruments from other countries, but still, these have all been accepted into Carnatic music, into Hindustani music, these different foreign instruments also. So, it's not that when we sing and dance before the Lord, and it says here, sing, dance, etc. So it means also playing instruments. That it has to be only. So I mean, there are different acharyas. There are different gurus who will say to their disciples. Some gurus, they don't want their disciples to use foreign instruments, so they want to. Let's just take only the indigenous instruments and the Indian instruments, or the Bengali instruments only, and we shouldn't use any others from any other state or whatever. Okay, so there's some. It depends on the group of people, but in general, Carnatic music, Hindustani music, they accept instruments from different parts. So it's all very interesting like that. So the form of dance, the form of the instruments, it's not set or stereotyped. And we can offer all of these different types of singing and dancing and everything for the Lord. Whatever we can do. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he's the ability in man. So whatever great ability you have, you can do it for Krishna, to please Krishna. So it's so nice. Okay, so fire sacrifice, singing and dancing, and offering prayers in a prescribed manner. Now, sometimes in Semitic religions, in the Abrahamic religions, the offering of prayers can be. And similarly, in Hinduism or Vaishnavism, the offering of prayers can be spontaneous. We can pray for something, or we can pray to the Lord, and we can just do it in our own words. But very often what is said, what is described, what is recommended is that we take the prayers written by other great acharyas or great Vaishnavas or from scriptures, and we should recite those prayers, right? Because those prayers are more perfect perhaps than the ones that we might create ourselves. Of course, if you're a Sanskritist or if you're a poet or something like that, you can write wonderful prayers for the Lord. And even if you have a great emotion and great love for the Lord, you can come up with spontaneous prayers for the Lord. But in the beginning, it's considered to be a good idea to follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, Mahajana Yena Gata Sapantaha, and offer prayers that they offered. So when it says here, offered prayers in prescribed manner, vidaya, the word here, vidaya, it indicates that the person should be offering these prayers which are already been written by great acharyas or coming from scriptures, and we should simply repeat them. Now, it's going to probably say that there are some prayers like Vishnu Sahasranama from Mahabharata or chanting of prayers from the Bhagavatam or from the Vedas or whatever it is. Like, it's going to explain that. So when it says here, offer prayers in a prescribed manner, it doesn't necessarily mean that we just make them up on the spot. We can definitely offer spontaneous prayers, but probably what we're going to see here is it's going to encourage us to offer prayers that have already been written by great devotees. Okay, so once again, we're talking about duties at night here. Thereafter, according to the methods which have come down through the disciplic succession from your sampradaya, Vaishnavas should perform fire sacrifice, sing and dance before the deities, and offer prayers in a prescribed manner. The other thing I want to say here is this is considered under Naktam Kritani, night duties. Normally, the fire sacrifices are not normally done in the night. But here it's said that fire sacrifice can be done in the night. So this is a very interesting point here. Normally, we'll do it in the morning. There'll be a morning session of offering fire sacrifice. When we do a long ceremony that lasts for more than one day, sometimes we divide the day up into morning and evening, morning and afternoon sessions, and we'll do the fire yajna during the morning and also during the evening, or let's say the afternoon session, but maybe not so much at night. Now, Vedic fire sacrifices will be different from Pancharatric or Agamic or Vaishnava fire sacrifices, and so there's some different rules as to when they are to be performed. So, for instance, if somebody says to you, I want to have a Vedic ceremony. I want to have a Vedic or Vivaha Samskara. I want you to perform a ceremony for my wedding. Okay, and I want to do it in the night. Then normally we won't do a wedding in the night. It'll be done at a certain muhurta, at a certain time, right? And normally it'll be early in the day, right? Whereas a Pancharatric ceremony, if we're doing some Sudarshana Homa, that can be done at night. So there's a difference between Vedic homas and Pancharatric homas, and that we should therefore look for the rules of what timings we should find for these different things. So that's also given in the section of Jyotish called Muhurta. That's a good Muhurta. Okay. And there may be some other scriptures that mention that too. The Pancharatric arguments are going to definitely have something to say about that. Okay, so now that he said we should offer prayers, the next text here, text 40, says the prayer that we should offer at night. So here's a prayer. They're given an example of a prayer which we can just offer at night. So here's the prayer. It says, Valiyasa pada swamin pada bhima avadaraya agacha shayanastanam priyabhi sahakeshava. Right. Okay, so it says, the translation is, my dear Lord Krishna, O Keshava, kindly place these shoes on your lotus feet. Right? So we're offering shoes to the Lord. Then he says, please come to bed along with your beloved consorts. Right? Priya bihi. Okay, so when we look in the Archana Padadi of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati of the Gaudiya Math, right? Any Gaudiya Math Archana Padadi, even the ISKCON original Gaudiya Archana Padadi, right? We see the two last lines, the third and fourth quarters of this verse, are used for putting deities of Radha Krishna to sleep. Agacha Shayana Stanam Priyabhihi Saha Keshava. So Saha means along with Keshava. Along with Keshava means Krishna, right? It's the name of Krishna. Priyabhihi. Priyabhihi means Priya means dear. Priyabhihi is plural. It means more than two. It means more than two. More than two consorts. More than two. Here he's translating, the translator here is saying consorts, but it means more than two personalities that are your beloved, that are beloved to you, that are dear to you, like that. Of course, Krishna has even cowherd boyfriends who are dear to him. So we're not sure if Krishna's sleeping with his cowherd boys, in the forest or something like that, or he's sleeping, in his house, or he's sleeping. The idea is that Keshava is sleeping with his consorts, 3 consorts, or 2 or more, like that. When we use it for putting Radha and Krishna to sleep. So there's only just Radha and Krishna. Okay. So it's really, grammatically, it's a little bit incorrect because it wouldn't be Priya-bihi, right? Because that's a plural. Okay. So agacha means, agacha is an imperative. It says, please come. Shayana stanam. Stanam means is a place. Stanam is right. Shayana means of sleeping or taking rest. So Shayana means lying down, right? Please come to the place of lying down along with your consorts. Oh, Keshava, like Keshava, please, along with Keshava, please come. You all come, like that. So because you're asking him to come, you're offering him, you're asking him to go from the altar to the bed. So therefore you're offering shoes to him for him to walk from the altar to the bed, like that. And this is a part of the Lord going to each of the different places where in the different sections of, or there's different services that we offer to him in the external worship. Right, so some people, they offer these shoes to the Lord, and if you look in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Prabhupada talks about all of the different articles of worship that we offer to the deity, he'll say one should offer some shoes to the deity. Okay, so we can offer the shoes to the deity at different times. Right, for instance, after we wake up the deity, we need to offer shoes to him for him to come to the altar. We need, after we praise him and do the preliminary worship, we want to take him to the place of bathing, the bathing receptacle. So we again have to offer shoes to him to go to the Shnana Vedi, right? The place where he takes bath, the bathhouse. Then we have to offer again shoes to him to come back to the altar. Then we have to offer again shoes to him for him to go to a place to dress, his dressing room. Then we have to offer shoes to him again for him to come back to the altar. Then we have to offer again shoes to him to come to the place where he's going to eat, the dining room. We have at every different stage. So there are these 6 stages, right? Mantrasana, Shnanasana, Alankarasana, Bhojasana, Punamantrasana, and Paryankasana. In each one of these stages, before and after, we have to offer some shoes, because the Lord has to go from these different places. And this is a part of our meditation when we're doing the worship, right? So we may actually offer the shoes with a mantra. And we pray, before we offer the shoes, we have to pay obeisances to the shoes before we take them and we offer them. So we have to say, Bhagavad Padukabhyam Namaha. Right, so this is what we say every time before Shnanasana. We say Bhagavad Padukabhyam Namaha, and we have to offer the padukas. Paduka means the sandals, to the Lord for him to come to the Shnana Vedi. Right, so this is all part of that. It's part of every different thing. So here he's only mentioned the shoes here, right at the end. Right at the end of the day, when he's calling the Lord to come to bed and sleep. So this is at night, right? But in actual fact, we have to offer the shoes at all these different times. Now, it would be nice, I think, for people to actually chant the whole sloka here, But because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, following in the footsteps of his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur were a very, very short, abridged version of worship. Of course, based on the principles of Hari Bhakti Vilas, called Sankshipta. Sankshipta means shortened, Archana Padi, which is available if anybody wants it in English. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he added a little bit to that, changed it a little bit slightly, and he added this prayer here. Agacha Sayanasthana Priyabhiya Sahateshava. Just the third and fourth quarters, just the last half of the verse, like that. He didn't bother with the whole verse like that. So he made it very simple, like that. But if one wants to, he could use the whole verse. I'm not sure exactly if this is Baliyasya Yasa or Baliyasya. I'll have to look up exactly. Pada Vima Avadaya seems to be too many syllables here in the second line. So we'll have to check this verse out and verify the Sanskrit, because there seems to be too many syllables in the second line, and also we have this V here, which could possibly be a B or a B, we don't know. Because in Bengali, it's the same letter, so sometimes we see in Hari Bhakti Vilas, there's a confusion about that. Okay, so that is a very nice prayer to offer to the Lord, and a meditation for the Lord to come to bed. So let's see what happens next. Text 41, he says, while praying like this, one should offer the Lord his shoes and bring him to his bed. One should then meditate on the articles that are found in a bedroom. Right. So we should meditate and we should bring the Lord to his bed. Sometimes in temples we have small deities, which are called Utsava deities or festival deities. And these deities are used to be bathed, whereas the large deities cannot be bathed every day. Or even at all sometimes, because they're made of materials that they can't be bathed, or they shouldn't be bathed, except at the time of installation. So the small deities, on a daily and occasional basis, those small metal deities are bathed. They can be put in bed. In fact, in the Pancharatric and Vaikanasic temples, they have sometimes several sets of these deities for different purposes. So these Utsava deities, for procession, for bathing, we might have a smaller deity. For procession, we might have a slightly bigger metal deity, because in the procession, we want everyone in the procession to see the Lord, and so therefore we dress the Lord very nicely and beautifully in different outfits, and we want everyone to see the Lord. When we have very, very small deities which are easy to bathe, sometimes it's very difficult to decorate them fully. So making clothes and applying jewels and things like that is much more difficult because they're so small. But they're good for other reasons, for offering Baliharana around the temple after there's a Bhoga offering, for going to the Yagashala, the temple Yagashala, and observing and presiding over the ritualistic fire ceremonies of the temple, the Nitya Homas, for lying in the bed, Shaina. Sometimes we have a special deity which is in a lying pose that gets to go into the bed every night. Or on other occasions too. The festival deity of Krishna in Udupi lies in a golden cradle for 4 months of the year during the Chatumasya season, which is the time when Lord Vishnu, actually takes rest, the Chatumasya, right? So just as in the year we have 12 months, right? So if we divide that into thirds, we get 4 months. So a third of the year is the Chatumasya season. So similarly, when we take rest, normally people will take rest between 6 or 8 hours or something like that at night. So 8 hours is actually a third of 24 hours. So Lord Vishnu also sleeps for 8 hours. His 8 hours, however, is 4 months out of the year, right? If his one day is the year, then 4 months is a third of the year, which is equivalent to our 8 hours. Okay. So in Udupi, they put that deity to sleep for 4 months of the Chatumasya season. So this is all about putting the deity to sleep. And when we do that, we should meditate that he's in a bedroom. Maybe there's a special room in the temple that is just used for the deity to sleep. Just like there's a special room in some temples in South India for the deity to see himself after he gets dressed. After the deity is dressed, it's called in Tamil, it's called a Kanadi Arai. Kanadi Arai. The word Arai means room. Kanadi means mirror, a mirror room. So you go in this mirror room and there's mirrors all around the room like this. So the Lord is sitting in the middle of the room and you can go in and have darshan by circumambulating him. Yeah. And sometimes circumambulating him, maybe not every time, but you can see him and you can look from all angles. You can look from all angles at the Lord. You can see him from the back, from the side, like that. So very, very nice, like that. Similarly, sometimes when the deity goes on procession in a palanquin, the deity will be laying down facing one way, facing the way that the procession is going. And sometimes what will happen is that they'll put the deity's carrier in front, either Hanuman or Garuda or something like that, in front, or Sudarshana in front of the deity, facing the deity, right? As we do in the temples, we have Garuda, Stamba, opposite Garuda, either on a column or in a deity room opposite the Lord. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll place a mirror there, because there are people who, when there's a big crowd of devotees, they want to see the Lord. They see the Lord as the Lord is coming in the palanquin, you see him. But if you are following along after the Lord, then all you see is the back of the Lord, or you just see him from the side. So what they do is they place a mirror in front. They place a mirror in front of the deity in the palanquin, and the reflection of the deity is seen in the mirror. So even the people who are by the side of the Lord, if you're not in front looking back, you don't see the Lord. But if you're at the side, you don't see the Lord directly, but in the mirror you can see the Lord. So you can still have the darshan of the Lord if there's a big crowd. So this is a very nice thing to do, is to put a mirror there, or to have a mirror room in the temple. The other thing that they do is sometimes there's also a tradition in South India that if they have a baby Krishna, sometimes they have these little Laddu Gopals, these baby Krishnas, that they want to show darshan to people of baby Krishna. So everybody wants to see the cutest part of baby Krishna. And the cutest part of baby Krishna, of course, if you put baby Krishna in a palanquin or on an altar, you see him, you see his face, you see him holding the laddu, right, in his hand, like that. You see him from the front. But you also want to see the back of the baby, because the back of the baby is also very cute. He has a very cute backside or bottom. So what they do is they put a mirror behind. In my altar just recently, we of course we did. I don't know. There was a reason that we pulled out our Krishna baby Krishnas. We have a Ganges clay baby Krishna, and we also have another Krishna sucking his toe, sitting on a banyan leaf, which is a ugra form of Krishna, which comes at the pralaya, the destruction of the universe. But anyway, so we brought those out and we put them out. But my wife specifically brought out the mirror and put the mirror behind the backside of Krishna, so that when you look at Krishna, you can see him, but you will also look past him and you can look in the mirror and you can see the back of him. You can see his backside also, because his baby's backside is very cute. Okay, so this is another thing that they do. All right. So the use of mirrors to see. So this is something that may be found in it. There are things that are found in a bedroom. There are things that are found in a dressing room. There are things that are found in the dining room. Right. So when the deity is in any one of these rooms, or when the deity is being offered any one of these services, then we should also have the appropriate paraphernalia around the deity. When the deity eats, in the beginning of ISKCON, well, we used to take the plate and we would just take it and put it on the altar like that, and we would offer it to the deity. The deity would be standing there. But now we think, the deity should actually get to sit down and enjoy his meal. So we have chowkis, we have these little square tables that we put in front of the altar, and then we place a mat or an asana for the Lord, and we invite the Lord to sit on the asana. We invite the Lord to sit and take the meal from the chowki. So this is a much more intricate, but more detailed and more. It's a nicer meditation of how to offer food than just simply putting it on the altar like that. Yeah. So sometimes it's not possible though for lack of space. There's no space in the deity room. We can't put this particular. We can't put a chalky there. We can't put an asana there like that. So we have to put it on the altar like that. In fact, there was one temple where I installed deities in Italy, in Florence, in Firenze, and the architect who made the deity room made so little room in front of the altar, right, that it was impossible to even put it in front, the offering in front of the deities. So we had to take the bhoga plates and we have to put them behind the deities, which is a shame because the meditation, it disturbs. It's disturbing in our meditation to think that the Lord is inconvenienced in that way. So we should always try to plan our deity room in our house or deity room, whatever situation we have, in the best way that we can offer the greatest service to the Lord and in the nicest way. So that should always be our meditation. Okay. So anyway, one should meditate upon the articles that might be found in the bedroom. Okay, so let's continue on. Text 42 and 43. At this time, one should offer the Lord thick boiled down milk. Thick boiled down milk. And with sugar. Okay, so if you've ever been to Vrindavan, you'll see that they have different forms of this. Something is called kheer. It doesn't necessarily have rice in it. Sometimes when we talk about kheer, we're talking about sweet rice, which is milk and rice and sugar cooked together. But in other times, we talk about kheer as simply being condensed milk with sugar in it. So this is what they talk about here, condensed milk with sugar in it. So that could be kheer. There's another very famous milk product in Vrindavan called rubbery. And rubbery is also made like kheer. Kheer is simply condensed milk and then sugar is added. And you can make different tastes by adding the sugar at different times. You don't want to add the sugar in the beginning sometimes because then you have to really watch the milk. Once you put sugar in milk, you have to watch it very carefully because it has a tendency to burn more if it has the milk. It has the sugar once it has the sugar in it. Of course, you can burn milk without sugar too, but it burns more easily with sugar in it. So then later on, you can make rubber. You can condense the milk and then add sugar. There's different types of sugar that you can add. You can also make rubbery. The way to make rubbery is that you have the milk, and the milk does have sugar in it, and you're boiling that milk, and you're fanning the milk. You're fanning the milk while you're boiling this sweet milk, and then you with a stick or with another instrument, utensil, you take the skim. There's a skin that forms on a layer of thick skin that forms on the top of the milk when you cool it by fanning it, and you take that off and you put that in a separate container, and you keep doing that until all the milk's gone, and that's called rubbery. That skin milk like that. It's very famous in Vrindavan, very very nice, and this is also can be offered to Krishna. So thick boiled down milk with sugar. Okay, so this is what we should offer to Krishna. Right, and then we have betel nuts with camphor. So a betel nut is a particular type of areca nut like that. It should be not offered whole, but it should be cut up into small pieces so that it's easy to chew, right? And it can be also shaved into very thin slices. And there are these special leaves that are taken, and you take the leaf and you have to take the stem out of the leaf. And you have to place two leaves, one on top of each other, both facing with the shiny side up. And then you have to put on calcium hydroxide, which is a white paste, a very small amount of that. And then you have to put on another red paste, so that is called the kata. And then the tuna they put on top. And then you have to add the betel nut like that. Or you can just simply buy the betel nut, which has been spiced, pre-spiced. There are some brands like Pan Parag is a very famous brand. In India, you can just buy this spiced betel nut, and it's already chopped up, it's already spiced, and then you can just offer a little bit of that. right? And it says here with camphor. So sometimes they put a little bit of edible camphor, which is called pachakarpuram. Pachakarpuram. Pacha means green. Pacha means green or unripe, right? Karpuram means camphor, right? So it comes from the camphor tree. It's not a chemical, and so it's good. You can digest it, but you only need a very small amount of that. So sometimes they put that, or they put menthol or some other flavor. There's also a type of jelly or jam that you can buy, which might have saffron and might have menthol. It might have some of this, silver or gold flakes in it, like that. And you put just a little bit of that on there, and then you add the nuts with the nuts and the toothpaste, and then you can add. If you want to make it especially sweet, you can add sweetened dried desiccated coconut. You can add kishmish, some of these dried fruits like that. You can even add the coconut can also be rose flavored like that. And you roll it all up, and you take a clove and you put it through. It has to be folded in a certain way so it becomes like a triangle shape. And then you put a clove to pin it closed. Then the method of offering this is called a pan. So betel nut can be offered by itself, or it can be made into a pan. And the pan can be taken. You can take this triangular pan after you offer it to the deity. Normally, it's only grihastas who will take the prasadam of this, and sannyasis and brahmacharis don't usually take the pan offering to the Lord. Or maybe your guru tells you're not allowed to take the pan. You shouldn't take the pan. There's a famous example of Gopal Bhatta Goswami telling his disciple Haribams not to eat pan on Ekadasi, right? So apparently on Ekadasi you shouldn't take pan, right? You should probably leave it till the next day. It's considered to be a very opulent sort of food stuff, and it's not really a food. It's more like a palate cleanser, or it's like we at the end of a meal, someone might take an after dinner mint to purify their mouth and give their mouth a good smell and a good taste, like that. After the eating oily, greasy food, or eating all these different items of foods, they take this pan. So the way to take the pan is they take the pan. If you take the pan, you put it in the side of your mouth, inside, like that, and then put it between the teeth. And then from the combination of crushing it slightly with your teeth and mixing with the saliva, you'll get the sensation from the pan. You'll taste all the ingredients, and the camphor or the menthol will give you will make you feel quite cool, and then ultimately you chew it like chewing gum until the flavor is gone, and then the rest of it is spat out. Normally people don't swallow it, but of course it could be swallowed. There are some things which are good for digesting in the pan. So sometimes Brahmins, after eating, they'll just sit around. They'll take these nuts, and they'll either take some pan nuts or some betel nuts or fragrant betel nuts, or they'll take just the pan leaves and just put a little bit of fragrant rose flavored tuna calcium hydroxide, a little bit, very small amount on the pan leaf, and chew it, and it'll help to clean the teeth and everything like that. The other thing is that the stem is taken out from the leaf, and sometimes at the end the stem is dipped in the calcium hydroxide and used to clean the teeth from the red stain that is there. And so you see in India, not so much today, but used to see a lot of times in India, people would chew this and they would spit it here and there. It's sort of disgusting that they just spit it here and there. And so it should be spat in a spittoon, in a proper receptacle, and one should rinse the mouth, and of course. Anyway, and of course we shouldn't take pan when we're doing puja or any ritual or anything like that. It needs to be taken after a meal normally, and this is what we're offering to Krishna. So we give him the boiled down milk with sugar, the betel nuts with camphor or the pan, right? Garlands of fragrant flowers. This is offered to Krishna when he sleeps, like that. There's a tendency nowadays, especially in the ISKCON temples, that we don't offer flowers to the Lord in the night, because the flowers will stay on the Lord all night, and they'll have to be taken off early in the morning like that. That's the normal system in India. They stay on the Lord all night and they come off in the morning. Right? They're called Nirmalya Prasadam in the morning when they're taken off. But in ISKCON now, when they do, because they redress the deities in night clothes, sometimes they don't put garlands on with the night clothes. I'm not sure if there's any place where they put garlands with night clothes on. Maybe there is, but they should be. The deity should always have fragrant flower garlands. Okay, and then sandalwood paste. So sandalwood paste, a lot of times sandalwood paste is offered to the Lord on his feet. And so what they do is not only sandalwood paste, sometimes there are balls of sandalwood which are actually placed on the deity's feet like that overnight. So these are, of course, when we wake the deity up in the morning, we have a wet cloth or we have some way of wiping that off and then putting more sandalwood paste on with tulsi leaves, especially for Vishnu type of deities, right, in the morning after we've taken off the night sandalwood paste. But there should be, we shouldn't think, okay, so the Lord's going to bed, we should take all the sandalwood paste off. No, here it's actually said that we should offer sandalwood paste. Before he goes to bed, he has to have sandalwood paste on his feet. That's a very interesting point here. So in this way, one should worship the Lord according to his capacity and level of devotion. So according to our capacity, we can do all these things. If we don't have the capacity to do them physically, externally, we can do them within the mind. And according to our level of devotion, I think that the point is that this may be very complicated. This may appear to be a very complicated thing for somebody who's just beginning deity worship or beginning to do the worship of the Lord. So if that person in his house is not able to think in that way, then he can do it in a more simplified way. But in the temple, it should definitely be there, and there should be a standard like that. So an intelligent person will certainly offer all his actions and fruits of actions for satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So now we have after we put the Lord to sleep, then we have the procedure for offering or we're putting him down to rest. He's not yet asleep, and we're just offering all of our activities to him.